All right, so you're ready to ditch the old place and dive headfirst into Hong Kong studio living. Big move. And we're here to guide you every step of the way, making sure you find the perfect fit, just like finding the perfect pair of shoes.
Absolutely. You want something stylish and comfortable, something that lets you explore.
Exactly, something that really takes you places. So let's unpack this whole Hong Kong studio scene. We know they're super popular right now, but what's driving that?
Well, you've got affordability and prime locations. For starters, imagine living just steps from the central business district.
Or right by an MTR station.
Exactly. It's a dream for those who want to be in the middle of it all without breaking the bank.
But I bet finding a studio in those prime spots is no easy feat, huh? The competition must be fierce.
You're telling me. Take Shengwan, for example. Those studios are hot commodities. Everyone wants to be near historical spots like the Manmo Temple, but also close to those trendy cafes.
Like, I don't know, the cupping room.
Yeah, exactly. That kind of desirable mix really drives up demand, and of course the prices too.
So location, location, location. What other things affect those rental costs?
Well, size and layout are biggies. A spacious studio with a clever design, like a loft-style space,
Hmm.
is going to cost you more. And then you've got the extras, like a gym in the building, a rooftop pool, or even a concierge service.
Those definitely come at a premium.
Oh, for sure.
So for someone weighing their options, how do studios stack up against other housing choices in Hong Kong?
Cost effectiveness is a big plus for studios. Usually, they cost less to rent and maintain compared to those larger apartments.
Right.
They're a great fit for individuals or couples who'd rather have that awesome location and a vibrant lifestyle over a ton of space. Plus, you often have more flexible lease terms.
Which is perfect for someone who isn't ready for a long-term commitment.
Exactly.
So it sounds like Hong Kong studio living is kind of like adopting a minimalist lifestyle, right?
Yeah,
Trading in that huge suburban house for a chic, compact space right in the heart of it all.
you could say that. But it's not about sacrificing comfort. It's about maximizing a well-designed space and immersing yourself in the energy of Hong Kong's amazing neighborhoods. Imagine stepping out your door and being right in the thick of things.
That's the trade-off.
Yes.
Okay, let's talk neighborhoods. You mentioned Sheungwan, but what other hotspots should studio hunters have on their radar?
Well, you've got Wan Chai and Sim Sha Tsui, both with a unique Hong Kong flavor. Wan, as we said, is a cool mix of old and new. You've got historic treasures like the Manmo Temple, right alongside trendy cafes and art galleries. It's a neighborhood where you can find a peaceful tea house tucked away on a bustling street.
Sounds like a cool contrast.
Right. It's a special kind of charm. And then you've got Wan Chai.
What's the vibe over there?
Wan Chai is all about that dynamic modern living. It attracts tons of young professionals drawn to those sleek high-rises and the super convenient Wan Chai MTR station, which connects them to the entire city. Think busy shopping malls, rooftop bars with killer views, and easy access to cultural spots like the Hong Kong Arts Center.
So a bit more fast-paced than Sheungwan's blend of history and trendiness.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And then there's Sim Sha Tsui,
Ah, yes, Sim Sha Sui.
the ultimate destination for those who crave excitement. Picture neon-lit streets, a constant buzz, luxury malls with all the latest trends, and a super vibrant nightlife scene that keeps things going long after dark.
I'm getting major FOMO just hearing you describe these neighborhoods. But let's face it, we have to talk about the cost. We all know Hong Kong isn't exactly known for being budget-friendly. How does that translate to the studio market?
You're right. We got to be realistic about the costs. On average, a studio in Hong Kong can range anywhere from HKD 14,000 to HKD 30,000 per month. And of course, those prime locations in Central or Shengwan come with a heftier price tag.
That's a pretty wide range. What contributes to that variation?
Location, like we talked about, is huge. But also the age and condition of the building, the size and layout of the studio, and whether it has amenities like gyms or pools, all these things play a part.
So even within the same neighborhood, prices can swing quite a bit.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then there are the hidden costs that can catch you off guard.
Ugh, those dreaded hidden costs. What should our listener be prepared for?
Well, there's the security deposit.
Huh.
You're usually looking at 1 or 2 months rent up front.
Right,
Then you might have agency fees.
which can be another month's rent.
Yeah, exactly. And don't forget about those utilities. Electricity, water, gas.
Mm.
Those are usually not included in the rent and need to be part of your budget.
So it's more than just that monthly rent. There are all these extra expenses to consider. Are there ways to minimize those costs or snag some good deals?
Absolutely. Keep an eye out for promotions from landlords. Some offer discounts if you sign a longer lease,
Okay.
or they might be willing to negotiate, especially in less competitive areas. And if you're open to it, having a roommate can really cut down on those overall expenses.
Those are some handy tips. So our listeners picturing themselves in one of these amazing neighborhoods, they've got their budget figured out. What essential features should they be looking for in a Hong Kong studio?
That's a great question. Let's start with space and layout. Studios in Hong Kong are known for being really smart with space. They're compact, usually around 300 to 600 square feet.
Yeah, not huge.
Right. But they often have these open layouts that blend living, dining, and sleeping areas seamlessly. It's all about maximizing every inch.
Kind of like finding shoes that fit snugly but still let your feet breathe.
Exactly, you nailed it. And just like you wouldn't want shoes that pinch, you want a studio that feels comfortable and lets you move around freely. Open layouts and multifunctional furniture are key.
So think sofa beds, tables that can double as workspaces, and smart storage solutions.
You got it.
What about those must-have amenities? What should be at the top of the list?
A fully equipped kitchen is essential, especially if you love cooking. High-speed Wi-Fi is non-negotiable these days, both for work and for fun.
Absolutely.
And for peace of mind, 24-hour security should be a top priority.
Definitely. Speaking of security, what specific safety features should our listener be on the lookout for in a Hong Kong studio?
Most buildings in Hong Kong have CCTV surveillance and secure entry systems. Some even have 247 security personnel. It's always a good idea to ask about the specific security measures before you commit.
Right. You want to feel safe and secure in your new home, just like you wouldn't wear flimsy shoes on a rocky path.
I love that analogy. It's all about feeling supported and protected.
Exactly. So our listener has their budget, their dream neighborhood in mind, and they know what they're looking for. But how do they actually go about finding that perfect place in this bustling city?
There are two main paths: working with a real estate agent or using those online platforms. Both have their pros and cons.
Let's break those down. What are the advantages of going with a real estate agent?
Think of them like expert shoe fitters. They know the market inside and out. They have access to properties that you might not find listed publicly, and they can guide you through the whole rental process in Hong Kong, which can get a little tricky sometimes.
So they can really tailor the search to your needs and make things a lot smoother.
Absolutely. They can be incredibly helpful.
But what are some key things to keep in mind when working with an agent?
Be super clear about what you want. Tell them your budget, your ideal location, those must-have amenities, everything. And don't be afraid to talk about their fees up front so there are no surprises later on.
Great advice. Now let's talk about those online platforms. What makes them so attractive for studio hunters?
Well, they're super convenient. You can browse listings anytime, anywhere, and you can filter by price, location, amenities, you name it. Lots of platforms even offer virtual tours now.
Oh, wow, that's cool. So you can get a feel for a space without even leaving your couch.
Exactly. It's like online shopping for apartments. But remember, just like online shopping, those pictures can be deceiving. Listings might not always be up to date, so always double-check the information and contact the landlord or agent directly to confirm availability.
That's a good point. It's always better to be safe than sorry. So let's say our listener has found some promising listings, either online or through an agent. What's the next step?
They absolutely have to visit those studios in person. Photos only tell you so much, you know. You need to experience the space firsthand, get a feel for the building, check the noise level, soak in the neighborhood vibe.
It's like trying on shoes before you buy them. You want to make sure they fit well, feel good when you walk, and match your style.
Exactly. And while you're there, explore the neighborhood. Check out the public transportation, the grocery stores, parks, anything that's important to you.
Great idea, like taking those shoes for a test drive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to schedule visits at different times of day so you can get a sense of the neighborhood's energy and noise levels. Take notes, take pictures, and don't hesitate to ask questions about anything that comes to mind.
I'm taking notes. Okay, so our listener has found their perfect studio. They're ready to sign on the dotted line, but wait. Before they do, what legal stuff do they need to be aware of?
Great point. You got to understand the legal side of renting in Hong Kong. First and foremost, take your time, read that lease agreement carefully, and make sure you understand everything.
Couldn't agree more. What are some key things to look out for in those agreements?
Well, in Hong Kong, 2-year leases are pretty standard. The first year is usually fixed, which means you'll pay a penalty if you break the lease early. But the good news is that landlords can't raise the rent during the second year.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yes. Just pay close attention to all the details, like the rent payment schedule, who's responsible for maintenance, and any potential penalties.
So it's all about knowing your rights and responsibilities as a tenant.
Exactly. You have the right to a safe and well-maintained place, and the landlord is responsible for taking care of any necessary repairs.
It's a two-way street.
It is. On the flip side, you have to pay your rent on time and keep the studio in good condition. And one more important thing to remember is that utilities, water, gas, electricity, are often not included in the rent. You'll need to set up your own accounts and pay for them separately.
Okay, so factor that into the budget as well.
Yes. And there might also be management fees for common areas or building upkeep. It's always best to clarify all these details with a landlord or agent before signing anything.
Great advice. Before we move on, is there anything else our listeners should know about making the most of studio living in Hong Kong?
Absolutely. Let's chat about interior design tips for small spaces. Because just like shoes, you want your studio to look good and feel good.
Oh, yes. I'm all about that. I've always loved how stylish and functional Hong Kong studios can be. How do they make it work?
Well, it all comes down to maximizing space and creating flow. Multifunctional furniture is key, just like we talked about before. Sofa beds, tables that transform into desks, storage ottomans. It's all about getting the most out of every piece.
So just like choosing shoes that can be dressed up or down.
Yes. And don't underestimate the power of light colors. They can make a space feel so much bigger and airier.
I've heard that before, but it's a great reminder. What about storage? Any tips for making the most of a small space?
Vertical space is your best friend. Shelves, wall-mounted storage units, underbed storage boxes, hanging organizers for closets. Get creative.
It's all about thinking up.
Exactly. Think of it as like organizing a shoe collection.
Yeah.
Everything needs to be easy to find and neatly arranged. And don't be afraid to incorporate furniture that doubles as storage, like ottomans with hidden compartments or beds with built-in drawers.
So strategic.
Right. It makes such a difference.
Speaking of creating a comfortable living environment, how can our listener make their studio feel tranquil and relaxing? It seems tricky to have separate zones for work, relaxation, and sleep in such a compact space.
It can be, but it's totally doable. Strategic lighting is one of the most effective ways to create distinct zones. Use a mix of overhead lighting, task lighting, and ambient lighting to create different moods and atmospheres.
Ooh, I like that. Like setting the mood with different lighting, just like you choose different shoes for different occasions.
You got it. And textiles can add warmth and personality. Throws, cushions, rugs, they can all help define different areas and create that cozy feeling.
So it's all about those layers.
Exactly. And don't forget about bringing in some nature. Plants add a touch of life and really freshen up the air. Even a small vase of flowers can make a difference.
Plants are like the perfect accessory, adding that pop of color and life.
Totally. And remember, making your studio your own is a journey. Experiment with different design ideas, rearrange furniture, switch up accessories until you find what feels right. Just like your personal style evolves, so should your studio.
This has been so insightful. We've covered so much, from finding the perfect studio to personalizing it and embracing the unique lifestyle. It's like we've gone on this journey together, trying on different shoes and exploring all these paths until we found the right fit.
I love that. And just like any great journey, there are going to be challenges along the way. But with some planning, creativity, and a positive attitude, you can make studio living in Hong Kong an amazing experience.
So well said. I think our listener is now ready to embark on their Hong Kong studio adventure, armed with knowledge, inspiration, and excitement for all that's to come. But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I'd love to hear your final thoughts on what makes studio living in Hong Kong so unique and special.
Studio living in Hong Kong is more than just finding a place to sleep. It's embracing this dynamic, vibrant way of life. It's immersing yourself in a city that never stops moving, where ancient traditions meet modern trends, and every corner holds a new discovery waiting to be made.
It's like stepping into the city's heartbeat.
Exactly. And while a studio may be smaller in size, it opens up a world of possibilities for exploration, connection, and personal growth. Think of it like stepping out of your comfort zone and into a brand new pair of shoes. You might just be amazed by where they take you.
What a perfect way to put it, and I think that's the perfect note to end on. Our listener is ready to step into their Hong Kong adventure, armed with knowledge, inspiration, and a sense of wonder for what's ahead.
I couldn't agree more. I'm so excited for them to discover the magic of Hong Kong studio living.
And we're here to support them every step of the way. Thanks for joining us on this part of our deep dive into Hong Kong studio living.
My pleasure.
Okay, so we're back and ready to explore the whole lifestyle side of Hong Kong studio living. It's really more than just downsizing, isn't it?
Oh, for sure. It's embracing a whole mindset.
Right. It's simplifying, focusing on experiences, immersing yourself in the energy of Hong Kong. It's kind of like having a pair of shoes that can handle anything.
I like that. Versatile shoes for whatever adventure comes your way.
Exactly. So you can go for a hike, hit the town, run errands, whatever you feel like. Studio living is all about being adaptable and going with the flow in Hong Kong. It's stepping out your door and right into the heart of the city, whether that's a bustling market or a hidden alley with live music.
Blowing.
Sounds pretty amazing, but I'm sure some people might hesitate about downsizing. They're used to having tons of space.
It's understandable. If you're used to a big house with a yard and separate rooms for everything,
Yeah, it's a change.
it is. But it's all about perspective. Think of it as a chance to declutter, to let go of stuff you don't really need. You prioritize experiences over things.
It's not about feeling cramped, but feeling free.
That's it. And Hong Kong is perfect for that mindset. It's all about energy and efficiency. Your studio's like a launch pad, a cozy spot to recharge before heading back out to soak it all in.
It's like ditching those bulky hiking boots for some sleek sneakers that let you move around the city with ease.
Perfect analogy. Studio living pushes you to be more adaptable, more open to trying new things. You're not tied down by stuff. You're free.
I love that perspective. Okay, so someone's listening, they're inspired, they want to take the plunge. What's the first step?
I'd say really visualize that ideal Hong Kong life. What do they want to do? Where do they see themselves? What kind of vibe do they want in their space?
So get a clear picture in mind.
Yeah. Then you can start to narrow down the search. Like if you're choosing shoes for a specific adventure, you need to know where you're going first.
Right, you wouldn't wear flip-flops to go hiking, so figure out those priorities.
Exactly. Like public transportation, natural light, being near restaurants. Once you know your must-haves, you can target specific areas.
And it's got to be realistic too, right? You might not get a balcony and a sea view in Central,
Probably not.
but you could find something awesome with a rooftop terrace in a quieter neighborhood.
Totally. It's all about finding what fits you, your lifestyle, and your budget. You might need to compromise on some things,
Right.
but ultimately you want a studio that feels like home, a place to relax, recharge, and get ready for your next Hong Kong adventure.
It's all about finding that balance between what you want and what's actually out there. And it sounds like being open to different neighborhoods is a big part of that.
Absolutely. Don't be afraid to explore outside those super popular spots. You never know what hidden gems you might stumble upon. Sometimes the best adventures are off the beaten path.
I love that. It's like discovering a secret cafe or a cool boutique that's not in any guidebook.
That's the spirit. Hong Kong is full of surprises, even when you're searching for a studio. Keep an open mind. You might find something even better than you imagined.
Okay, our listener is getting a feel for the lifestyle. They're picturing their Hong Kong life, and they're ready to go. What are some must-know tips for making the most of studio living once they've found that perfect place?
Well, just like breaking in a new pair of shoes, you got to make that studio feel like your own.
Ooh, I love that analogy. Tell me more.
You got to personalize it, infuse it with your style, your personality, and make it truly yours.
So it's not just function, it's making it reflect you.
Exactly. Even in a small space, you can do that with some smart design choices and a bit of creativity.
Okay, let's get into those design choices. What are some go-to tips for maximizing space and style in a Hong Kong studio?
We've talked about this a bit, but that multifunctional furniture is crucial. Those sofa beds that turn into comfy sleeping spaces, tables that do double duty as desks.
And of course, the storage ottomans.
Oh yeah, can't forget those. It's all about choosing pieces that can do more than one thing.
Like shoes that can be dressed up or down.
Exactly. And light colors, don't underestimate them. They can really open up a small space and make it feel so much bigger.
Makes sense. What about storage solutions? Any creative ideas for maximizing space in a studio?
Think vertical. Shelves, wall-mounted storage, under-bed boxes, hanging organizers for closets. Utilize every inch.
Okay, it's all about going up.
Yep. Like organizing a shoe collection, you got to be able to find everything easily and get creative with those storage solutions. Decorative baskets for blankets, wall hooks for coats and bags, furniture with built-in storage.
So many possibilities.
Right. It makes such a difference. A well-organized studio is a happy studio.
Speaking of happy, how can our listener create that sense of peace and relaxation in a studio? It seems tough to have separate zones for work, relaxing, and sleeping when you're working with limited space.
It's definitely a challenge, but you can do it. Lighting is a great way to create those distinct zones. Use a mix of overhead lights, task lighting, and some softer ambient lighting to set different moods.
Ooh, I like that. It's like choosing shoes to match your outfit. Different lights for different moods.
Exactly. And don't forget textiles. Throws, cushions, rugs. They add warmth and personality. It can help define those different areas.
So it's all about layering and adding those personal touches.
Absolutely. And think about bringing a little nature inside. Plants add life. They freshen the air. Even a small vase of flowers can brighten things up.
Plants are a must. They add that little extra something, like the perfect accessory.
So true. And remember, personalizing your studio is an ongoing thing. Just like your own style evolves, your studio should too. Experiment, rearrange things, switch things up until you find what feels just right.
It's all about making it truly your own.
Yes. And that's what makes studio living so rewarding. You have that freedom to create a space that perfectly fits you.
We've covered so much today, from finding the perfect studio to making it yours and embracing that unique lifestyle. It's like we went on a journey together, trying different things on until we found that perfect fit.
I love that. And just like any journey, there might be a few bumps along the road.
Oh, yeah.
But with a bit of planning and creativity and that positive attitude, studio living in Hong Kong can be incredible.
I think our listener is feeling pretty equipped and ready to jump into this Hong Kong adventure. But before we move on, what are your final thoughts on what makes this whole studio living experience in Hong Kong so special?
It's more than just finding a roof over your head. It's about joining this energetic, vibrant way of life, immersing yourself in a city that never sleeps, a blend of old and new with surprises around every corner.
You really become a part of it all.
Exactly. And while the studio might be smaller, it unlocks so many opportunities to explore, connect, and grow. It's stepping outside your comfort zone, like trying on a new pair of shoes. You never know where they might take you.
I love that. What a great way to put it. I think our listener is ready to step into this new chapter with all the knowledge and inspiration they need.
I'm so excited for them to discover everything Hong Kong has to offer.
And we're here to cheer them on. All right, let's take a quick break and then we'll be back to wrap up our deep dive into Hong Kong studio living.
Sounds good.
All right, so as we wrap up our Hong Kong studio deep dive, I'm curious about something. What are some misconceptions people might have about this whole lifestyle?
Ooh, great question. One big one is that it's isolating. People imagine being stuck in this tiny space all alone.
Yeah, I can see that.
But it's actually the opposite.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Think about it. Hong Kong is all about social interaction. There are always people everywhere grabbing food at Dai Pei Dongs, checking out those night markets, even just walking in the park.
Right.
And since studio living often means you're right in the middle of everything, you're constantly surrounded by chances to connect with people.
So it's more about getting out there and being a part of the city's energy.
Exactly. Plus, don't forget about the sense of community that can build up within those studio buildings.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, those shared rooftops, common areas, you bump into people in the hallway. It creates a kind of micro neighborhood.
So it's not just about the studio itself, it's about finding a building with a good community vibe?
Exactly. That's why you got to look at those amenities when choosing a place. Is there a rooftop where you can hang out with neighbors? A shared kitchen or lounge? All that adds to the experience.
Great points. So it sounds like studio living can be pretty social, actually. Not what people might expect.
Right. And another misconception is that it's only for a certain kind of person, like a young professional or a student.
Yeah, that's the stereotype.
But it can really work for all sorts of people. Couples, retirees, anyone.
Wow, I hadn't thought of that.
It's all about adaptability. Finding a space that fits your needs no matter who you are. Like a retired couple might love a studio near public transit and museums, while a young family might prefer one with a loft.
It's about being creative and finding that perfect match for your situation.
Exactly. And like we've been talking about, maximizing space and making it functional is key. With some smart design choices, a studio can be a comfy and stylish home for anyone.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. We've busted some myths and really explored what studio living in Hong Kong is all about.
It has been fun.
So, any last words of wisdom for our listener who's now feeling inspired and ready for their Hong Kong studio adventure?
Enjoy the journey. Finding the perfect studio is all about discovering new things, exploring different neighborhoods, getting to know the city. It's like trying on different shoes, seeing which ones fit best, and take you where you want to go.
Love that analogy. It's about finding that perfect match for your needs, your style, your dreams.
You got it. And remember, Hong Kong rewards those who are adventurous, open to new things, and willing to step out of their comfort zone. Studio living is a bit like that too. It's living efficiently, connecting with your community, and making the most of every opportunity.
So well said. I think our listener is feeling pretty confident and ready to take on this exciting new chapter.
Me too. I can't wait for them to experience everything Hong Kong has to offer.
And we'll be here cheering them on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Hong Kong studio living. It's been a blast.
Absolutely.